Welcome to Deep Thought, the butterfly effect. And this is kind of a follow-up to the podcast I did about how a relationship can create realities. A good relationship can, of course, create good realities, good outcomes. A bad one can create bad ones. But the butterfly effect, for those who aren't familiar with it, it's that scenario where it kind of came from science fiction, where someone would go back in time, right, and they would step on a butterfly. And they won't think anything of it, but then they get back to their time, everything has changed. Because stepping on that butterfly created a world where there wasn't any beauty. And it's a good metaphor for, it's good for science fiction, but it's a good metaphor for saying even the smallest choice, the smallest action can create outcomes. Because as I talked about relationships, I just talked about intimate relationships. But every single time that you engage someone more than a minute is a relationship. My mentor would say, when you go into a department store, you having a relationship with the corporate entity that is that department store, but also with the sales clerk. Every instance that's beyond a second, like just passing by, like if you're walking down the street, you just say hi to someone. That's not a relationship. But if you walking down the street, you say hi to someone and you talk to them for a few minutes, that's a relationship. And it's very important. My mentor also pointed out that in Asian cultures, that's why they bow to each other. They'll start off the relationship on a positive note. They bow to each other first. That's the reason. Because they put you in a certain way when they bow to each other. So it's not a random thing, but it works. It works. That's why, like in many Asian cultures, you have a certain level of peace. Like, for example, in Japan, and another spiritual teacher told me this, when they had those earthquakes and stuff over there and disasters, you notice there isn't like looting or anything like that. See, that's a deep thing. Think about it. And there's some other stuff with that. That'd have to be the subject of a future podcast. But the butterfly effect in real life, people don't realize that the far-reaching implications their actions could have. See, first of all, no one is independent out here. No one is independent. We are all connected. We are all connected to the point that me just driving to... I had to do something this morning real quick. That simple act of driving could have an effect somewhere over in Russia or in China. Just by the simple chain of events, Because me driving, okay, say that, wow, this could be a wild scenario. But, all right, say I'm driving, right? And I don't drive fast like I used to. I don't drive fast. Too many cops pulling me over. It kind of like stops that. And nowadays with cops and black men, you kind of want to keep in a speed limit. So, so I'm just like, and plus you're older, you want to just enjoy shit more, right? So, but say I'm just driving, and I've actually had this happen. Like I was at a stop sign. I was at a stoplight yesterday, a few days ago, right? And I was actually going to use another example, but this was a good one, right? I was at a stoplight a few days ago, right? And I'm sitting there waiting, and it was like in a right turn lane, right? And that's just because I was set up. If I got in a left turn lane, I would have to go left, but in this particular lane, I had to go straight. Now, while I'm sitting there, I get a bunch of young brothers that come behind me. And they actually honking their horn at me. They actually honking my horn to take a right turn. And, I just looked in the rearview mirror and pointed straight ahead. Right? And I don't know what was going on, but, I noticed when the light came and I went straight ahead, they tore around that corner. Now, what kind of effect could that have? What were they doing? Were they trying to get away from something, or were they trying to get someplace, right? let's have some fun with it. Let's say they were trying to get someplace, right? Say one of them had a girlfriend. She said, hey, look, you got to get over here in a half an hour. You know, I want to just give you some. I want to give you some and everything, but you got to come now because my man's on the way home. And you know some dudes don't care, right? And just that few minutes, just that minute might delay him because then he might run into some other stuff. So he get over to the woman's house. He's doing his thing. Her man come in, put a bullet in him, right? Put a bullet in him. Of course, you know, he spent some time in jail. You know, he got to go through a lot. If he got some money, he got to put a lot to his legal defense. But, you know, sometimes they like, you know, despite the circumstances, hey, you going to sit in jail, you know. That affects a lot of other things because, one, the woman was cheating anyway, right? She's cheating anyway, so she already wasn't right, you know. It just strains the marriage, all of that, or relationship. All of a sudden they break up. Right, but because they break up, it affects a friend of hers who, you know, kind of stays and consoles her. But, you know, the friend was going to travel to Europe for something, right? Just travel, but, you know, but it was more of a casual thing. But because she didn't travel to Europe, she didn't meet this guy who would have been a good match for her, right? But because this guy didn't meet her, you know, he goes on and he, you know, she would have settled him down and everything. But you know what? He goes on. He don't meet that woman to settle him down. He decides he's going to be a player, you know. He's going to be a player. But being a player, he gets burned. He gets burned by one woman and then ends up spreading like a disease to 5 other women. And then it goes on and on. But then somewhere in the chain, an important diplomat gets the disease. Now, this is a diplomat, you know, important thing, but it's kind of fatal when he gets it. He becomes real sick. Then he can't be in a negotiation between 2 countries that are at war because his presence would have made a difference because of the way he's able to form relationships. And because he wasn't there to broker a peace, these 2 nations go to war and cause a whole lot of destruction. Then other countries get involved. And then eventually the U.S. probably got to have a military presence over there. And then, you know, Russia get involved. Other superpowers get involved. All of a sudden, some little conflict escalate into a global conflict. Then nuclear weapons might be used then. You know? And then life on Earth just changed. We got radiated mutants and stuff. And then, you know, as part of that irradiation, some weird virus get off all of a sudden. We got zombies and everything. Now, I know y'all saying, damn, Rom, you got the moonshine early. But that's how deep it is. Like, all this stuff happens. All because Rom didn't want to turn in a direction I didn't feel like going. You know, seriously. But that's how deep it is. You know, I mean, it's incredible if you start tracing little shit back, you know. And I actually did that with my ex-wife one time because there was a whole convoluted stuff that happened that even got us together. That's probably why we like still close and everything. Seriously, that's probably why we still close, because it was convoluted as hell getting us together. We were just like, damn, this had to happen, this had to happen, this had to happen, this person had to do this. It was just like, oh man. But, you know, it was a wild example, but if you think about it, everything that happens, people do, is a reaction to something else, and it could be something small, you know? Here's a wild example. What if Hitler growing up had a Jewish girlfriend who rocked his fucking world and he fell in love and everything? Think about it. You know, previous podcast, I used the example of Obama. What if his father, you know, got with someone else? He wouldn't exist. Or what if Obama decided, you know what? There's more money to be made as an attorney. So he'd be some corporate person you might not hear about. Seriously, everything is small. You never know how just a tiny decision, you know, Like one I was going to use. I like that fun one better, but one I was going to use is how a woman makes a decision how to reject a man. I had something like that on my other channel. Now, say, a guy approaches a woman and says hi, but she's rude about it and everything. That man feels some type of way. He goes back to torment other women. Or because that guy, when he said that, he develops a negative idea about women. And then, you know what? He has a YouTube account. So how many people going to listen to him spew whatever? Boom. But then, alternate reality. That same woman still rejects him again, but then she's nice about it. She's kind. She's like, oh, no, I'm not interested. Or, something like that. Or she'll tell a white lie. Say, oh, I'm sorry, I'm taken. Right? Something like that. But she does it with a smile, and she leaves a self-esteem attack. That same dude, he feels good. He might just go on and get another woman, or, because he got a good attitude, and then that leads to a positive thing. It's possible. See, a lot of people do stuff and don't think about how their actions will affect other people. Everything you say, because you know what? There's a lot of videos I could do. In fact, there's a video I was going to do for my main channel, which it will be the first video that I actually sat down, created, edited, but I won't upload. And it wasn't that deep. And, didn't have special effects. But then something in my spirit say, nah, whatever you do, don't put that video out. Right? Because one thing, after knowing all of this, your third eye starts to open, and all of a sudden you can start seeing the results of stuff, or you'll feel it in your spirit. Your subconscious will know. Your subconscious knows anyway. And one of the ways that it'll tell you something is, through, gut feelings, hunches, and all of that. That's all it really is. Intuition, because it's like you got a huge memory bank down there that can tell you every sensation you experience, everything you've seen, everything you've heard, every smell you've had. So, something happening, you doing something, all of a sudden, your subconscious, or your spirit rather, let's start using the word spirit, right? Your spirit rather say, nah, don't do this. You can have negative repercussions. And see, I don't know. You might not see them, it's like I'm very careful, because sometimes, you never know what you say. I mean, you can try as hard as you can. You still want to try to be careful of what you're saying. In ancient Kemet, that was actually a discipline, to really think about what you're saying, to really talk about, your rhetoric. Because a simple rhetoric, somebody saying something, they could say like something innocent and get somebody killed, or they could say something innocent, a simple compliment or something, and make somebody feel better. I use an example like that in my book, Sexual Chemistry. A person being nice to a person can have repercussions where they nice to some other people they deal with, and it keeps going. Like one person can literally, just by a simple choice, affect thousands easily. And they might not be a superstar, a rock star, or politician, anybody who's in the public eye. It could be a simple grandmother saying to her grandchild, hey, baby, I know you can do it. Something like that. It affects millions. See, a lot of times people, one of the things we have in this society, especially Western culture, is too individualistic. People think they can just do what they want. They ain't thinking about what they're doing is affecting someone else. You go back to the example of me at the light. Like it or not, I wasn't going to go in a direction I wasn't going. And what was dude going to do? Get out this car and threaten me? Shit, I seen the pictures of Rom lately. I hit the gym. So, and plus, I got a little sick part of me. I actually go crazy. If somebody get in my face like that, I'm actually ready to throw. It's like I fantasize about snapping somebody's neck. I really do. I got a bad part with me. That's why I avoid conflict, because I'll be broadcasting from a prison or something. But that little thing still affected that person. When you get a job, right? If you get a job, the reality is there's 5 other people who didn't get that job. And yeah, you happy to get the job, but you don't know. That person could have needed that job you had, to be, to keep them from getting put out on the street, or to save a relationship, or to buy something, make money or something for a procedure they needed. I mean, and it's like you're not being evil or anything, and it's not a situation where you should say, oh, maybe I should let the other person give the job. It's just a reality. And it's not really, ultimately it's not a good or bad thing. It just is. You just what you want to do is just always be mindful of your actions, and at least try to have good intentions with whatever you say. When I see people, I'm going to tell you what, I get people, men and women, who say hi to me or whatever all the time. I'm just like, hey, how you doing? Unless they give me reason to be mean to them. But my interactions are always positive. Always positive. Try to be positive. I ain't gonna lie, I ain't gonna say I ain't gonna get rough or something if the situation called for it. But even then, it's a calculated thing. I'm thinking about, all right, how is what I'm going to do affect this or that? Because it could have, a small thing could have repercussions all over. And it happens all the time. Every single person does something that could have long-range repercussions, but every person is also the recipient of repercussions, from something that happened somewhere else. You're being affected, me even being on YouTube doing podcasts like this, it was all because I commented on something that someone else did. That's all I did, and it led to this. But at the same time, another comment could have said, like, I don't feel like being bothered with this, And people need to be just mindful of it. And also, just in another way, that's how powerful a person can be. A person can literally change the reality without knowing it, without being conscious of it, all because they said hi or didn't say hi to another human being. Or because they could have changed something because, like, I'm been getting some clothes lately, right? Now, I just got like a nice little coat, right? Nice little coat, big old coat. I got long arms, and I'm a big dude, right? Because I got that coat, somebody else doesn't get it, right? And that could affect them negatively, or it could affect them positively because they didn't get it from where I got it from. They might be forced to go to another store and get it, but while at that store, they meet their future wife, or they meet since it was a man in my, male coat in my case, they meet their future wife because they had to go to another store. And think about that. As y'all think about how just something small can have you do whatever. Have you doing whatever or going whatever, or how something small could affect where you at now. Something tiny. And that tiny thing, the chain of events that started, could have been halfway around the world. In fact, I'm going to tell you how deep this is. Literally, whatever circumstance you in now could be started because somewhere over in India, no, not India, they're kind of careful animals there. Somewhere over in Australia or something, somebody stepped on a butterfly, literally. And people say, oh yeah, that's great. No, think about it like this. Say somebody steps on a butterfly, a couple's together, man steps on a butterfly, the woman is like, you are, instead of curse him out, leave him right then. Boom, you get a whole chain of events that start because that relationship ended. Because the man was cruel about stepping on a butterfly and the woman responded. And don't think I got friends now who are hardcore vegans and stuff. I'm like, damn, I already know I can't talk about eating a buffalo wing around them. So trust me, just little shit. Anyway, Ray, once y'all think about that, keep rising and transforming. Peace.